Welcome to today's lesson. Today, our lesson is on characterization, but specifically, we are looking at the methods of characterization. To begin with, we will look at the definition of characterization. What then is characterization? Characterization is a literary device that is used step by step in literature to highlight and explain the details about a character in a story. This is done at the initial stage of the story where the writer introduces the character with noticeable emergence. After introducing the character, the writer often talks about his behavior. Then, as the story progresses, the thought processes of the character is also revealed to readers. Again, we can explain characterization to be a process through which an author reveals a character's personality. A process through which an author reveals a character's personality. Now, what are the methods of characterization? We have two main methods of characterization, and they are the direct or explicit method and the indirect or the implicit method. The direct method is also known as the telling method. That is, the writer tells us who a character is, and the indirect method, which is the implicit method, is also known as the dramatic way of showing who a character is. So, the direct is the telling and the indirect is the showing. What is direct method? The direct method is a kind of characterization that takes a direct approach towards building the character. So with this kind of method, the approach is direct, and we specifically get to know the character through the direct description that is given to us by the writer. However, it can also use another character, narrator, or the protagonist himself to tell the readers or audience what the subject is. And the subject basically is what we term character. So a writer can use another character, the narrator of the story, or even the protagonist himself to reveal to us who a character is. It can be revealing to us the protagonist himself. So these are ways to describe a character directly. Most especially, the author will tell us in precise words what the character is like. So mostly it is the writer's duty to reveal to us what a character is. And that is what we term the direct method. For instance, the military officer was good looking and gentlemanlike. He had a pleasant countenance and unaffected manners. When you look at this particular instance or example given, we are given direct description by the writer about the character military officer. We get to know from the words that describe him that this is who the military officer is. He is good looking, he is a gentleman, he has a pleasant countenance and unaffected manners. So this is what we term the direct method or explicit method or the telling method. The writer gives us in words directly what the character is. Now let's look at other ways of revealing character. That is the direct methods of revealing a character. 1. The use of names. 2. Appearance. And 3. Authorial comment. Now, all these methods or all these ways are classified as direct methods of revealing a character, and it is the writer's duty to help readers or audience to know who a character is through these three ways. By the names that the character bears in the story, we get to know who the character is. Some names do have some kind of allusions. It can be historical allusions, and it helps us to understand who the character is, or it helps us to understand the nature of the character. Again, appearance. When we meet a character and we are told by the author that this character has a pot belly, he sweats, and other descriptions, it is a way, a direct way to help us understand the nature of this particular character. And lastly, the authorial comment. The author also gives his comment concerning the behavior or the nature or the personality of the character. So these are three main ways of revealing characters as regards the direct methods. Now, what is the indirect method, or the implicit or the showing method? The indirect method is a more subtle way of introducing the character to the audience. So with this, we are not giving direct descriptions. Words that are used in describing the character do not directly tell us that this is what this particular character is, but they are done in a subtle way. The audience has to deduce for themselves the characteristics of the character by observing his or her thought process, behavior, speech, way of talking, appearance, and manner of communication with other characters, as well as by discerning the response of other characters. So with this kind of method, it requires an active participation of readers. The reader has an active participation to characterize the character. So with the direct method, it is a responsibility of the writer, but with the indirect method, it is a responsibility of the reader or the audience to know or discern and describe a particular character in a story. The author dramatically shows who the character is, and it becomes the responsibility of the reader to infer character on the basis of the evidence provided in the narrative. So it is the reader's duty to make inferences from what the writer has stated or written about the character in the storyline. There are two main methods of indirect characterization, and it borders on speech and action. By speech, we can analyze a character in a number of different ways, and they are what is being said, the identity of the speaker, the occasion, the identity of the person or persons the speaker is addressing, the speaker's tone, stress, dialect, and vocabulary. So these are ways to help us analyze a character by speech. So what is the statement this character is making? And who is this particular character? The identity. Is the character the protagonist? Is it a major character or a minor character? Is what he is saying authentic? Is it a fact? Is it a truth? What is occasion for the statement? An occasion can also border on location. So where is the statement being made? Statements sometimes made in public are not taken seriously than those that are made in private. So these help us to analyze a character by speech, and by action, it basically borders on what the character does. How does the character behave? Is he or she quiet, reserved, and slow to making any sort of change? So, in conclusion, we have looked at what the methods of characterization are, and we looked at what characterization itself is. And we got to know that it is a literary device that helps writers to reveal to us the nature of their characters in their storyline. And the two main methods of characterization are the direct and indirect methods. With the direct method, it is also known as the telling method. It is the responsibility of the writer to reveal to us who his character is. And with the indirect method, the writer sadly gives us the idea about the behavior and the nature of the characters in two different ways, by speech and by action. So this brings us to the end of today's lesson, and I also encourage you to subscribe and share with others. Thank you.